This is a daughter podcast where dads come to talk, think, and thrive with your host, Oscar and Blandon. Our mission is to cultivate a community of strong, mindful, and present fathers.
We want to curate honest conversations with all men, but especially those who have the honor of raising daughters.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Daughter Podcast. I am Oscar, back in my environment.
Finally.
With Blandon on the other side. What's up, man?
What's up, man? So you're finally back home, huh?
Ish.
The wife let you back in the house, huh?
Yeah. Just the weekend, and then I'm out. So, gotta keep going, working. So I'll be out of here tomorrow again.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. How's it going over there?
Man, it's going all right. We had a good day here. We went to church. We went out to eat at a restaurant afterwards.
Fancy.
Yeah, a little fancy. And then, we've been getting ready for the week ahead. So doing homework and just prepping. So it's been good. But how's it been with you getting back with the fam?
Oh, it's great, dude.
Yeah.
Sleep in my own bed, see my kids, wake up, make them breakfast.
There you go.
Just the thing I like to do, and then, have to head back. But it's great to have a little bit of a refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
hear you went to the movies, though.
Did. And, everybody who knows me knows I love going to the movies, like the experience of going to the movies. And so I love also taking the girls to the movies and getting all the movie snacks. We don't sneak in any outside food. We're not that family. We buy all the concessions there, or the specialty popcorn bucket and the drink holders and all the things.
It ain't cheap.
It ain't cheap, but you know what? It's the experience, right? It's the experience, So we love the experience. And so we went to go see this new movie called The Wild Robot. And if people have not seen it, especially parents, especially dads, if you have not seen this movie, you are missing out. This movie, with no prompting from the movie, we have no sponsorship from DreamWorks. We'd love to have a sponsorship from DreamWorks yet, but this movie, I'm telling you, was
let's stop right there. Let's not give the movie away.
I'm not giving the movie away. I'm giving you my review, the rating. The rating of this movie is 1,000 out of 10. 1,000 out of 10.
I don't think that's statistically possible, but continue, please.
Yeah. So it's amazing. It is amazing. No foolishness involved in it. Just a straight up good movie. I'm loving the resurgence of just an original storyline, original characters with just a heartwarming story,
But it brought to mind something for you that we're going to talk about today. What was that?
Yeah. So one of the main themes of the movie, a couple of things. One was transformation, and then the other was kindness as a survival tool. How do we survive? How do we manage in the wilderness of life, so to speak? And just kind of amplifying the fact that kindness can be the key that unlocks a lot of doors.
Okay.
And also how you transform when you are given a new task, like raising children, and especially for us, especially for dads raising daughters. Like, how do we transform in that? What are the biggest sacrifices that we make? What are the things that we are willing to do? And then how do we adapt to the needs of our children, the needs of our girls? So this movie brought up all of that for me, man. It's amazing. It was really good.
Okay. Transformation is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this kind of at nauseum. Once you find out you've got this human coming into your world that you're now completely in charge of in every facet of their life.
Yeah.
The thoughts that go through people's minds are kind of nuts. Like, we've talked to a few folks that are daughtered, or even just, have children. But what you mentioned was the transformation of you becoming a parent, or particularly for us, a father of daughters. It was literal for me from the very beginning. I think I mentioned in one of the episodes, like holding my first daughter ever for the first time was just the feeling was unreal.
Yeah.
Like the thoughts that went through my head were unreal, nothing I could ever imagine, and all about that little thing,
Yes.
which is transformative because prior to that, you're pretty much worried about yourself.
Yeah. 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 I think also the transformative part is that we typically invest in things that are going to stay, that are going
Okay.
to be with us, that are going to continue on, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do. We acquire things that we can sometimes hoard, keep close, keep precious, keep it locked away, this, that, the other. And parenting is so different because we invest in our children so they can leave us. You know,
Right.
we give them all the tools that they need, all the necessary things, food and shelter and education and identity and awareness and confidence. And we pour all these things into them, not so they can stay close to us,
Yeah.
but so they can leave us. And I think that is the most heartbreaking and yet heartwarming thing that we do. And it just kind of transforms your thinking about things that are precious to you, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't think of things, it's kind of cliche. If it's meant to be, it'll come back to you, this, that, and the other. But I'm not thinking about that when I have a child, especially when I have
Yeah.
a daughter, a girl. I want to, my thought is that you can keep them forever and you can't, right?
Right.
The whole goal is for them to be a contributing member to society and go out on their own and reach their own potential, reach their own dreams, go and make their own family,
Yeah.
you know. And if you are very blessed and very fortunate, they will include you in that, but they don't necessarily have to. They don't owe you that.
Right. Yeah. 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 I was watching something this weekend, and oh man, I always forget his name, but the guy that writes Daily Dad or Daily Stoic,
Yes.
he was asked, I think the question was, what do you tell a new parent to be?
Hmm.
Right. And the response from him was, you need to be ready to be changed.
Yes.
You need to be ready for it or for the child or for that experience to change you. And if you're not ready for that change, that's where we have a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
Right. And it's weird because I don't ever remember being ready for that change. Um, I think through the relationship that my wife and I had, we got to a point where we're like, I think we're ready. I think this is the time, right? But even when we first found out, well, both of us were just kind of dumbfounded, like, okay, that's going to be weird. And so we've talked about this before as well. That learning process in that first child, for me, has been extremely transformative because I've never thought of myself as a selfish person.
Yeah.
But then when we like get upset about things with a little tiny child, you're like, is that what is that child really doing to us?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing,
Mm-hmm.
really. It's really something within us that is a selfish thing. The kid won't go to sleep, so I can't go sit on the couch. The kid, like these little things that are selfish within us that everybody has. But to really run that down in the process that you're talking about of looking at it from the outside and looking like, how has this transformed me? It's like a night and day difference.
Yeah.
I should say it's a night and day working difference because it's still a working progress,
Yeah.
right? Like it definitely started, but now we're still working through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the whole point, right? There are things that you continue to sacrifice along the way.
Yeah.
There are sacrifices that you make that you never thought possible. You never thought that was you. If you're an active parent, if you are day in, day out dad, concerned about your daughter's, her welfare, her well-being, there are things that you will lose. There are things that you are willing to get rid of, to purge yourself of and even personal detriment that you will take on yourself so that they are provided for.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of transformation that I think you can only experience, you know? Like, that is great advice that he's saying, be ready for the change. But when that change comes, it's like, I never expected for it to take this much from me, and that I'm okay with it. And see, that's the difference. I'm not complaining about it. I'm not keeping a tally sheet and saying at the end of the day, after they have their own family, after they have their own successes, and after they've reached this pinnacle themselves, now you pay me back. I'm not even looking for that back.
Right.
What I'm saying is I gave this all for you so that you could do well, so that you could prosper and be blessed and enjoy life, you know, and not to me be a burden to you. And I think that is the transformation and change that dads need to get, because I'm seeing too many parents who are like, oh, they owe me this. You owe me this. And it's like, you haven't changed. You have not changed. You are that same single-minded, single-focused person who is keeping a tally sheet of what this child who didn't even ask to be here owes you. You know?
Are you like us and have two little rugrats running around at home?
Then you might enjoy our podcast, which is all about parenting with babies and toddlers. Come and join us in our imaginary blanket fort for some conversation. Why should people listen to us?
We're married.
Emma over there is an identical quadruplet. And I'm...
You're an only child, and he's generally a bit wacky.
If you want a celebrity or a professional or good advice, then we are not for you. I'm a very involved dad as well, so we have a dad and mum perspective.
It's just nice to have a chat with you, honestly. Like once a week. Quite nice.
Go check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Don't wake the baby.
Yeah, I was about to say that's an interesting take, because to say that your child owes you something is to assume that they chose that made you right, that they made you let them borrow their life. Like, that's not really how this works, because that's what you're saying. It's like, oh, I let you borrow this life of mine, and now you need to pay it back. This is an interesting thing to say. I also was thinking, like, how much is it and don't get me wrong, there's definitely sacrifices to be made, but how much is it of a sacrifice? And I say that because there's certain things that, and maybe that comes with the ability to be changed, right? But there's certain things that once I had our first kid, and even our second kid, I remember I was like, these other things aren't that important. Like, they just became not important. So they didn't feel like a sacrifice. Right. And so it was like, oh no, that's not important at all. the way that my brain kind of shifted to my child and my family made it feel like the other things that could have been a sacrifice just weren't. They just stopped being important. Yeah. Just an example, like my Sunday mornings are filled with making breakfast and just talking to the girls. I legitimately don't watch football, and I have no problem with people who do watch football. I just don't. It just became a non-thing for me. Right. And friends will talk about football, and I can carry a conversation. I know what's going on. I can watch, Yahoo News or whatever on whatever, but it's not a thing that I'm like focused on. Yep. And my Sundays are easily, I can go a whole season. In fact, I think it happened last season. I don't think I watched a single game legitimately, like where I sat down, where I used to just sit down and do these things. And I think Joey talked about this a little bit when we interviewed him. Not that I don't like football, but it just became a non-important thing. Yeah. And it didn't even feel like a sacrifice. Right. Now, again, we're talking about something very superficial. I get that. But there's certain things in my life that just became non-players in my life. It felt like almost automatically, but it may have not been for some people, right? I'm sure it's a learning process, but for me, it felt like it was almost automatically, like, 4 out of the 5 things that I was doing prior just became non-existent. and maybe that's what people feel like they lose themselves with, right? Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that was me, but now it's not me. It's like, that's true, but so what?
Right. Right. But that's a transformation, right? That's what
Yeah.
happens in transformation. You were once one thing and now you're something else.
Yeah.
You didn't lose you. You're becoming more of you, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And I think that's the mindset that people lose. Like, okay, you might have been wired a certain way for
Yeah.
this period of time. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm, this extrovert or I'm this introvert and I can't do this and I can't do that. And I'm like, but what happens when your child needs you? What happens when
Right.
your child is like on stage and they freeze? Like, just
Yeah.
because you're an introvert, do you not go up and
Yeah.
grab them or hug them or, help them out? I think none of that matters in that moment.
Mm.
All that matters is what your child needs, not what you need to feel comfortable. Like, okay, so what? At that point, if they're experiencing stage fright, go and comfort them.
Yeah.
Don't just say, oh, I'm an introvert, so I can't get up in front of people and do all this and
Yeah.
other things. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. None of that, none of this hard wiring, all this other stuff. When it comes time to act on behalf and advocate for your child, and especially dads for daughters,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It kind of all goes out the window for me. And in the instant, I become whatever they need me to be.
Yeah. Well, I think that transformation too, or that change, is something that maybe people aren't ready for, because one thing I found, and I can't remember where I saw this, but it was super true, man. It was like, your kids are mirrors.
Yeah.
And the biggest, really the biggest thing that I've had to work on is myself once my kids got here.
That's it.
And it's like, my kid is just mirroring me, or what we do, in my reactions, in my everything, right?
Yes.
And that's been a huge, I could completely see if you're just not ready to look at a mirror, right? Like, some people aren't.
Right.
Maybe it's not time for a kid. And I tell you right now, like, I still can't remember being ready to look in a mirror or to have a kid. But I remember distinctly, like, months after my first child was born, it was just, I felt like a mirror. I just started to feel, I'm not doing this right. I'm reacting incorrectly. And it sounds kind of egocentrical, but I just realized that it's now, you're trying to teach your kid, but really your kid is teaching you a bunch about yourself that you need to adjust, so that your kid can also take those good qualities from you. Because we all come with bad qualities, baggage, and all these different things. And if you're not working on those things, your child's going to take those with them. And so those are the things that I really started to notice when Ryan Holiday, that's who I was referring to earlier, when he mentioned that, I was like, that is so true. I don't know that I was ready for change, to be changed, but it is something that has been very consistent in my life from the moment my child got here. It was that instant change of mindset, change of feeling, change of physiological response to everything that I now do. So now everything that I do, job related, travel, anything, there's always that question of, how does this positively or negatively affect my family, my kids, my daughters, all these different things, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think there's this thing going on. I know there's this thing going on social media where they have the mirror filter, and it shows people what they actually look like to other people.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah. And so these people are on here bawling because they're not ready. Like you just said, they're not ready to see the mirror. They're not ready to see what other people actually see, because in our brains, there's like this snapshot picture of what we look like, right? That doesn't always change, that somewhat stays the same.
Yeah.
And then when we do finally get hit with the reality, like funhouse mirrors or whatever, and then you see a distorted image, and then you go back to a real image of you, then you're like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And it's shocking and it's startling. And for some people, they can't handle it. And like you said, that's what our children are to us. They're little mirrors that show us who we really are. But I segue that into saying that the one thing that I do want to mirror with the girls is kindness.
Yeah.
Because even in a world that is brutal and cutthroat and full of venom, I want them to be able to disarm people with kindness.
Yeah.
I want it to be to a place where they go and they're like, well, you know, I typically wouldn't even extend this kind of thing to this person, but you've been so kind. And not just nice, because we know nice is a veneer. Nice is a fake varnish, and it's not genuine. But to really be authentically them in the world and be kind to people who probably haven't been shown kindness in a very long time,
right?
To be able to maneuver with that, and for that to be what they're known for, and for that to transform a situation, because I think kindness can also transform a situation and transform people.
Yeah.
And for them to have that in their tool belt, I think is important as well.
But just real quick on that mirror thing with other people, I just talked to you about this before we got on camera. Losing my emotions to my girls, like raising my voice,
right,
gives me a mirror so quickly.
Yes.
Because the look in their eye is so much different than it was, say, 10 minutes before that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And if I had that filter, I think that mirror would be very nasty.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right? And I know we all have those instances, and
we do.
I think it's so important to refocus on that mirror.
Yeah.
Before going to those things. And man, it was just a very quick mirror view of what just happened. It was like, wow, that sucked. And I'm very quick to tell my daughters, like, hey, that reaction is not, you're not responsible for that reaction.
Right.
It's on me. But still, the mirror is there.
Yeah.
And that's something that, like, other people may see me in certain ways, but if my daughters can't see me in a kind, positive mirror, then we're having a problem. Now, I'm looking at it as in a longevity time frame.
Right.
We all have those moments. No one's perfect, and
we are not.
Everybody's human. But adjusting to that, and then asking forgiveness, and all those things are important to reset that mirror with our daughters. And you're right. We talk about this a lot. Kindness is key. Like real kindness, right? Caring for people, letting people feel that you care for them, and it has to start with us.
It does,
and that's a big thing. Again, even if you have those not so pleasant moments, be able to rehack with your child to know, like, hey, no matter what, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on your team. So true kindness, it's absolutely critical. I'm careful to tell my daughters, don't let people confuse your kindness for weakness. That's a whole different thing, right? Because we know those folks as well. But kindness is a work in progress in our home at all times.
Yes, I agree.
How about everybody out there, when we're looking at kindness, when we're looking at mirrors and change? Have you been transformed? How have you been transformed? Let us know. Send your comments down to conversations@daughterpodcast.com. Also, click the link below that says send us a text. We can read those. In the meantime, Blandon on the other side, me here. Until the next one.